Hey guys, this is Sparkle Soldier here, and this is my part 2 on what if Deku had crystal abilities, a bond lost in the past. In the scientist's room, the scientists were trying to figure out how old was Sumi. Was she a Homo sapien that was living in a ice age, or was she first Quark user in their era? And Sumi was confused on what is going on, but she was assessing her surroundings and see a room that she's not too familiar with, but she is willing to calmly and breathe smoothly with no amount of distrust. And then the door opens and Sumi looks and sees one of the scientists. And the scientist gave her a test for her to figure out. And Sumi then gets to the thing that she is supposed to do and was interested on how it worked. And when she was checking it out, the scientist puts a microphone out and says, "Alright, Sumi, you must take a food out of the mechanical box by opening it by pressing the button. If it doesn't turn light, then you don't open it." And Sumi shakes her head, and then the light goes up on the button, and Sumi presses it and grabs the thing that was holding it and sees a M&M, and Sumi was confused on what to do with it. And the scientist says, "Don't worry, it's not dangerous. It's a food." And Sumi thinks food. Then she eats it and then feels a wonderful taste in her mouth, and then wants to do it again. And when the light doesn't go up, Sumi doesn't do it. And when the light goes up again, Sumi does it and gets a M&M. Nom! And Sumi was amazed on what taste it is. And this is a prehistoric era Sumi, and so she never had anything to taste out of. And then the scientists do another test, and Sumi then listens to them. "Alright, Sumi, we need to do the same test as usual." And when they do it, Sumi then hears a little door open, and Sumi then sees the light, and then Sumi then realizes something. It's a trick, and Sumi then grabs the M&M, and the scientists were amazed on her intelligence. She wasn't fooled by it. And then they stopped the test and gave her a meal. This is British meal, so it's a mix of tomatoes, green olives with food to meat to balance it out, with sausage and a bit of hash browns to balance her appetite. And Sumi was confused on what they looked, but something interesting came to her sense and smelled the olives. And then she grabs a bite, grabs an olive and eats it, and realizes that it's a similar taste to her past, and eats the tomato from the past when she was at a big place in a island, and looks at a unique food that she never seen, and then sees a fork, a thing that she never seen. And the scientist says, "That's a fork, it's a plastic one," and sees the other utensil and wonders, "What is it?" And the scientist says, "That's a knife, it's a plastic one." And then Sumi and realized a knife. You mean she means something that could cut? Ah, and she cuts a sausage and eats it, and was amazed on the taste. This is better than any dinosaur meat. And Zumi eats the entire food of the British meal, and the British were glad that she likes it. And they run tests on her, and Zumi then speaks a little English while they were talking. Every time when Zumi was hearing different words, she speaks their language, and the scientists were amazed on her IQ, that her IQ is getting fast when time comes. Even when it was a simple task, she figured it out real quick. And even if her quirk helped her a bit, that still doesn't, her quirk is all the fault. Under 6 years have passed, and Zumi was about near to 15, and her language speaking have gone up. She can speak about 5 different English to Australian, English, American, British, Irish. All of them have different little slang to them. Irish has a bit of a tone to it. Australia has a slang a bit to their saying, and British has a unique wording. And Americans, well, to their standards, ours is a bit different to theirs. And to me, it was also understanding different types of languages that was taught to her, to French, bits of German, and Chinese to Japanese, Korea, and Spanish. Zumi's IQ level is impressive to the scientists. Even when she was in cryostasis for about ages, she adapted to the modern world own language under a few years. And Zumi was let it out with a few very specific things to do under their watch. She can go that ain't as far as facility entrances or out of it, but she can look at different places that the facility is shown to her, and she must ask for permission to go anywhere. Zumi was walking with a person beside her to keep her on watch and protect her for really good reasons. And Zumi then sees lots of unique things that she rarely got to see. But when she gets to a very private Air Force, she then sees planes, jets that she felt so familiar with. And Zumi then asks the parole scientist, and the scientist says, what's up, Zumi? And Zumi speaks, can I, check out the jets? I want to see them up closer. And the scientist says, sure, just try going to the highly secured ones, okay? And Zumi says, I promise I won't go near to ones that are strict to you guys. And the security parole officer was allowing her to check out the fighter jet, but not allow her to tell anybody else about the secret. And Zumi promised. And Zumi checks out the fighter jet and looks at it closer, and then something reminds her of something. One past her, a familiar thing, a thing that she flew on before she was in an iceberg. And then a jet flies in the air, and Sumi sees the same jet, a different jet flying. And the professor says, I know, marvelous, isn't it? We always advance our technology to further advance our goals. Sometimes for warfare and other things. Sumi then cries. And the security professor says, huh? What's the matter, Sumi? And Sumi says, it's nothing. Having her eyes watering. And then the professor says, are you fine? Is anything wrong? Did something hit in the nerve? And Sumi then says, hey, I was in the iceberg that you guys say, but I kinda created that. And the security says, huh? You created that? So your quirk was in the long age. But how did you even use it? And Sumi then says, oh, when I was trying to protect myself from the meteorite. And the security says, huh? Meteorite? Wait, that doesn't make any sense. There ain't any meteorites in the Ice Age. There's only been few. What? Wait, what age? What did you see back in the past? And Sumi then says, no, you never asked me that much about my old time. I usually fought against and hunt against some predators that walk on 2 legs. And 2 legs. Security guard thinks, that doesn't give me anything. Then has an idea. What type were they? What type of animals? Can you give me a description on what they look like? They were a bit scaly and sometimes had feathers on them. And then the security guard says, you were in the prehistoric era. And the Sumi says, prehistoric era? I don't know what that is, but hearing you say it, I'm guessing I was in that timeline. And the security guard says, then you're more impressive than we thought. Having his head scratching, and then takes the security Sumi to the scientist and also asks her, why were you crying earlier? And Sumi then says, I was remembering my old friend that I used who helped me get away from or travel. What type of creature was it? It was a bit feathery, but it has scales around its body, and it made to eat some fish whenever it goes into the water. And then the security guard puts 1 to 1 together. A pterosaur? You flew a pterosaur. And Sumi says, yeah, if that's your idea. Then the security guard explains to the scientist that Sumi is far more different than any of the ideas that we mere summarize. She's from the prehistoric era. And the scientist says, what? You're kidding. No human has never been in the prehistoric era. Not many. In 1,000,000 years. Well, this little girl has been in the prehistoric era. And then the scientist says, is this true? And Sumi says, well, if he's saying it, then it must be true to me. I'm not too familiar with the creatures' names. And then the scientist think, aha, got an idea. Then they have a prehistoric research book on all of the creatures that were in the past that she could recognize. And they go first with the second era, Triassic. And Sumi then shakes her head, putting a no into that. Doesn't even recognize any of the creatures that she sees. Then they show the Cretaceous era, and Sumi then looks. I recognize those long, swift creatures that you show me. I remember them being herbivores that you told me that eat plants, but they also ate some bugs. So omnivores? You mean those gallimimus? And Sumi then nods to them. Oh, then what about this? Showing a two-legged dinosaur that is huge, having a big skull with a teeth size of bananas. And Sumi then looks at it closer and says, haven't come across it. I saw fake footprints that are similar to his. And then the scientists then realized that Sumi was the first prehistoric Homo sapien, and she was the first of her kind that were perfected into human. And Sumi then says, what? Is that not rare? Is that rare, or is that not seen? And the scientist says, it's one of the rarest things I ever come across. Not many of never in history humans have ever seen dinosaurs. But you're the first to ever come across breathing dinosaurs and even prehistoric plants. You recognize some of them. I know this. Other scientists know this, that you recognize other plant species that were unique to you but weren't for us. And Sumi then says, I am truly amazed. And the scientist says, we're blown away. You're truly valuable. There's nothing that comes across bound to science. And Sumi then looks around and sees the news. I'd rather not be caged up or kept in secret. And scientist says, you're kidding. Your DNA is far too... We're lucky to figure out your DNA. Your blood type is like ours, but on a massive scale. It's a AB positive. Luckily, we figured it out. And Sumi then says, so those were blood tests. Relax, you're positive for any blood type, meaning you can replace any blood type with no downside. And Sumi then says, can I help other people? And scientist says, what? You're 15. Why do you want to get rid of your value? And Sumi then says this, that man with the red hair, he saved me. I want to owe other people. I'll donate some of my blood for your science, but also help others. And the scientist says, are you really sure about this? Your life is the most precious thing there ever will be to both yours and history and science and humanity's life. And Sumi then says, I have experienced a lot, but I'm the first person to see a modern world. I want to help be a hero, you put it. And the scientist says, fine, but we're giving you training. And Sumi says, great, I owe you. And the scientist says, alright, get her to train under your very best men. Do not let her life be swayed. And the security guard says, right. And Sumi was trained under Marine Special Forces, who taught her different martial art, to hand-to-hand, to holding a knife, using a gun, how to properly disarm, because lots of people really need to stop giving false disarm, and using a very unique weapon. If ever she needs to have a weapon on hand. And the scientists and Marines sent her to UA, for who she is going to be learning under heroes. She's going to be hidden her background from all of the people, not showing who she was or who she ever is. Going from an alias of Sumi Midoriya, homeland, British, Britain, and state, London. And Sumi was on a private plane and calmly thinks to herself, I wonder if my companion is okay. Just wonder where he is. And that's where I end this video. I hope you like this video and hope you subscribe.